And we're back. Welcome to the latest edition of the Processing Blue podcast. After a few weeks off for both of us, we have reunited. Alex Zutlow, Panthers beat reporter, and Mike Kay, fellow Panthers beat reporter, here to discuss everything Process Blue, which means we're talking to you about the Carolina Panthers. And boy, do we have a fun show. We just interviewed Panthers wide receiver David Moore, who was kind of an unsung hero for the 2024 team. He's kind of known as Dave Canales' guy. And he's been a guy that Dave and really Bryce Young have leaned on over the last 18 months. And so he provided some really great perspective on this offense, on this team, on this program, on the quarterback, obviously, and then also some rookie wide receivers that he has taken under his wing. And we will get to that down the road in this podcast. We're going to kind of do a Mike and Alex kind of cutoff here where we're going to have David in the middle of the podcast. So stay tuned for that. Or you can always skip over our jargon and whatever. But speaking of jargon, hey, Alex, how you doing?
Wait, am I jargon? It's like,
If you were Swedish, that would be your name, probably. Jargon Zeitlo.
well, Mike, I have missed you the last 3 weeks. Dude, like, and we've been texting and all these things, but every once in a while I'd be like, I wonder how Mike's doing, and then I just check the Phillies record, and I knew where your headspace was. I will say I checked before the game last night because they had like a 9:45 first pitch last night.
Oh.
I checked them before, and they were first in the NLE, so I imagine you're doing fine.
Well, not after last night. It was some of the worst umpiring I've ever seen. But Oracle Park is like basically kryptonite to Superman for the Phillies. So they're probably going to be swept in this series. Also, I'm sure people on the West Coast are swell, but like 9:45 for an East Coast start when you're a parent with kids, and it's like your one escape, as you can probably hear Reese screaming in the background. Yep, that's him. I think that's pretty brutal, and it kind of makes you appreciate football the way it is. Some of the night games are brutal, but when you cover the Carolina Panthers, you rarely have to deal with a night game. So,
Dang, already shooting shots.
Well, that said, look, while we've been gone, not a lot has happened transactionally, at least for the Panthers, but there have been a couple of moves that I know the fan base has been interested in. Jair Alexander signs with the Baltimore Ravens for a relatively okay contract. I think there was a bit of a playoff contender discount there. I also think pretty much as Jadeveon Clowney showed last year, anybody who's put in the Baltimore defense can pretty much capitalize on it and boost their numbers. And then, the Pittsburgh Steelers had this kind of NBA style trade where they traded, Minka Fitzpatrick in a draft pick for Janu Smith and Jalen Ramsey. Obviously, Panthers fans were interested in Jalen Ramsey. I had said before I didn't think that the Panthers would be interested. They were not. I also reported that they did look in on J.R. Alexander, but they never made an offer while I was in a eatery in Miami Beach. But what I will say is, like, none of this surprises me. I mean, are you kind of surprised by any? I don't mean to be like the constant wet blanket here, but like, it seems very obvious what they're doing. They're not going to, do alterations to their roster unless they make sense for now and the future. And that means not taking on lump sums of contracts.
Well, it doesn't necessarily surprise me, particularly after you spoke with such conviction a couple weeks ago that this front office likes their defensive back room much more than perhaps the fan base does and perhaps the local media does.
Definitely more than we do. There's no question that they like it more than the two of us.
So from that perspective, that doesn't necessarily surprise me. My question is, like, okay, what if just for the sake of bodies, particularly among the safety group, do you wait until after the 53-man cut day to go out and get someone off of waivers? What is the plan there? Or do you just stick with Damani Richardson, who I really like, and obviously with Trayvon Moehrig and, Nick Scott and whatever? Like, is that who you see going in week one, or do you try to make a move on the waiver wire? That's the question I have.
Well, I think they have, and not to defend this, but I think the logic is Damani Richardson and Lathan Ransom need reps in practice.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they need reps to show what they are, right? It's the same thing where, like, people talk about in baseball, if a guy is in a platoon and he doesn't hit for 10 days, how are you going to expect him to hit, 3 hit for average when he does get called up, right? Or be a pinch hitter, right? So I think, like, there's logic to that. When you have a young safety room, you have a young cornerback room, behind, like, really everybody. Like, Shaw Smith-Wade was a guy who was very clearly on the roster bubble last year heading into cuts. I can tell you that for a fact. He was on the bubble last year, and he made the team, and it took a little bit of time for him to get going. He was learning the nickel position, and now come a year later, they feel pretty good about their nickel position because he's making plays out there. So, like, I think they're looking at, like, guys, if you view the secondary together, like Caleb Evans, Shamar Bartholomew, who made some plays during OTAs,
Yep.
Lathan Ransom, Damani Richardson, Corey Thornton, Travis, I hope I pronounced that correctly. Jack Henderson, Isaac Gifford, like, these guys that are maybe overlooked and are underappreciated by the whole, but maybe they can establish themselves otherwise. I mean, Damani Richardson, we saw it. He went from an undrafted guy to kind of a camp story. Like, he's a guy, like, if you were going to name an undrafted rookie award in camp too, which, hold on to your butts, maybe we might do that. Oh, you don't get that reference because you haven't seen Jurassic Park.
Can you shop Jurassic Park jokes, dude? I saw Rebirth. I liked it. Okay, like I'm catching up.
Zach's not going to respond here, but he'll respond in the comments. Is that not the most Gen Z thing you've ever heard from somebody?
I'm a millennial, dog. I don't.
But anyway, so back to things that are important. I think Zach said a bit up there. I really enjoy our producer. Anyway, what I would say is like, you don't know what you got until you get them reps. And I think until they show that they're disappointing, you're not going to be rushing to spend money. Like, let's say you bring in Julian Blackmon. Let's say you bring in Justin Simmons. Those guys are not coming in here to be the second string safeties. They're going to immediately get starter reps. They're going to take up a lot of reps. Both of them have some, injury history and recent poor play. Like, so if you put your eggs in that basket, those guys got to start. And that's not even like a save our job sort of thing. That's like a economically smart approach. They're going to start in the first month of the season. Oh, and by the way, if one of them gets injured or is playing terribly, then you've got to throw those other guys out and you've got them less reps. I kind of understand it. Like, I don't know that I would go into the offseason being like Damani Richardson or Lathan Ransom is my guy opposite Trayvon Moehrig, especially because I get the vibe that they want to use him, Moehrig, in a lot of different ways. And here's the thing, if you want to use Moehrig in a lot of different ways, you want to use him at free safety, you want to use him at strong safety, you want to have him take on post work, you want him to be in the box, you want him to play nickel, you want him to be a dime linebacker. If you are going to do all those things, you need at least 2 safeties that you think can actually start behind him. And if those guys are Lathan Ransom and Damani Richardson, then, like, cool. I mean, they have spent a ton of money. By the way, they are at the top of the league in spending annually this year in APY for defensive line and offensive line. So they are building it from the stuff out, and they're building it from the trenches out. And so when you do that, you're going to have to take an L somewhere from a depth standpoint. And it looks like the secondary is going to be that. Now, Evero's background is secondary work. You hope that, with a better mindset, with more physicality back there, with JC Horn paid, with Mike Jackson paid, that you get return. But like at some point, you have to be like, yeah, this is going to be an L for a year, like as far as depth. I think Merrick was their crown jewel of free agency for a reason. I think he's going to be a difference maker. I really like Lathan Ransom. I really like Tamani Richardson, but they have to produce. And I think how they should feel is, look, Julian Blackmon's still out there. Marcus Williams is still out there. Justin Simmons is still out there. They're going to be out there for a bit. If they're not, let somebody else overpay for them. And, if they need them come preseason game number 2, then you look into it. I mean, I think these joint practices are going to tell you a lot as far as your secondary, because they're going up against, probably at least with Cleveland, that's got to be the worst quartet of quarterbacks in the United States. But anyway,
it is. I personally think the Panthers got really lucky in getting Damani Richardson last year. He is like,
sure.
He might be the thing that connects his defense, particularly in the backside.
Well, speaking of quarterbacks, and speaking of the secondary, they have to defend David Moore. The quarterbacks are throwing to David Moore, and the secondary is going to have to defend David Moore this offseason. And I think he comes in feeling like the ultimate Dave Canales guy. And I know there's been talk of him competing for a job, but once you listen to this interview, it's going to be hard for you to feel like he is not going to be around come week 1. Here's our interview with Panthers wide receiver David Moore. Hey, folks, we're joined by David Moore, wide receiver from the Carolina Panthers, who had a lot of really special moments last season as Dave Canales started his first season in Charlotte. David, how you doing?
Pretty good, man. Can't complain. How about yourself?
We're hanging in there. We're getting ready for training camp. I mean, Alex has been doing a lot of push-ups, so we're
That's what I'm talking about.
we're getting ready. So let's get straight into it. David, there's been some off-season videos on social media that you and several members of the offense have been working out, kind of getting together. And how did that all come about? Where was it? And how does having those kind of quote-unquote side missions help you guys build chemistry?
I would say it helps a lot. Right before we left, Adam was trying to get everybody to go to Minnesota, and everybody was just like, what's in Minnesota, bro? Not going there. And we were trying to figure out a place, and then it was actually the perfect place for us to go because it's nothing to do there, So you just hang with the guys, and that chemistry builds. I mean, building chemistry, takes you a long way. It makes you want to play for one another even more than so like coming in new, like now this guy, y'all have built a relationship, your brothers now, like you've been brothers, but now it's like on a whole different level. And it's just like, it helps you play more free, and it helps you like, want to do more for that guy and the team. And, it just helps. It gives you a safe space.
You re-signed in free agency pretty early on. Like, what went into that decision to return, and how close were you to potentially going somewhere else? I know last year you came in because of, your relationship with Dave and Brad, but what went into this offseason after you put some really good good plays on tape?
Coming off of the season last year, it was just like one of those deals where for one, I don't want to play for anyone, but Dave. It's some great coaches out there, but me and Dave and Brad as well, we got a nice relationship going, and they've been my guys for a long time. So it's kind of just like, stay loyal, stay true to the people that stay loyal and true to you. And going into this offseason, I told Dave and them I didn't want to go anywhere anyway. So he was like, perfect, and I told Bryce, I'm just like, bro, we got a lot of stuff we can do. You can see, as you see the way we ended, And the way we were like inclining the whole time on the back end of the season, it's just like I feel like it's something good here growing, and I just want to be a part of it. That's why I just kept telling the guys, and my decision was kind of easy. It was some people that came and tried to take me there, but I wasn't trying to go anywhere. I was trying to stay in the Carolinas.
David, I wanted to bring up last year because early on last season, Dave told us that you played through an MCL sprain at one point last year. And even with that injury, you didn't miss a practice. You didn't miss a game as far as I can remember. How much did that injury impact you last year, and why was it important to you to play through it?
Uh, I look at injuries and getting hurt and stuff like that, I guess, a little different than others. I was told by one of my cousins growing up, um, are you injured or are you hurt? And I was like, bro, ain't that the same thing? He was like, nah, 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 nah. Are you injured or are you hurt? If you injured, you can't play. If you hurt, get back out there, suck it up. And I'm just like, whoa, wait. But yeah, I was just like, yeah, all right, I get what you said now. So when I got hurt with the MCL, it was kind of just like one of those deals where we didn't have many receivers. We only had like 4. So I'm like, I don't want to leave my guys out there. And I don't like leaving nobody out left to dry. So like if I'm able and capable of playing, I'm going to play. If I'm able and capable of practicing, I'm going to practice. I don't like missing practice. I don't like, because I feel like I'm missing a step or I'm getting behind, or I just like to work, dog. That's about it. But yeah, it impacted me by saying like, thinking, all right, well, you are a little banged up, but you know, just get out there and be a man. This is a man sport, so it's what you signed up for. And yeah, I just kind of get out of my head when I think of, oh, it hurts. No, it doesn't. I just kind of play it that way.
Did your teammates know that you were hurt?
Oh yeah, oh yeah, they knew. They every time I came out to practice, they see me come out of the training room all taped up. My knee looked like the bionic knee, and it's just all bad. They're like, bro, you good? I'm like, from the looks of it, no, but yeah, I'm good on the inside. But yeah, they all knew.
David, I remember talking in Denver, and I know Jalen Coker's touchdown kind of came like with the game out of hand. And I remember you speaking with so much pride about his kind of evolution throughout his rookie season. And I know you take a lot of pride in the younger guys around you because there are so many. I was just wondering what's been like kind of the immediate takeaway from Jimmy and T-Mac and these undrafted guys that are coming in who have these like fresh opportunities and they're battling.
It's been good, watching them guys get out there and work. And then seeing them, the ones that came to throw with us last week, it's been good to watch them, kind of grow and ask questions and want to learn. It's kind of like how X and Coke was last year, and they come in, they want to work, they want to know things to help them, key things to like get them to the next level and what's gonna help them succeed. It's been good to watch him because Jimmy's fast and he got a lot of attributes to his game. T-Mac, T-Mac's T-Mac, you know what I mean? He kind of all around with it. And the other guys, they just come in and do the same thing and filling their part. But I would say um it's been real good they've gotten there. I know a lot of people have gotten banged up, but it's the attention to details, you know what I mean? Like as they're hurt, they're still staying up in there trying to gain knowledge from the playbook and asking questions on like if we ran a route this way, hey, why'd you do it that way? What'd you look? What'd you see? And you could tell and see like the want, the kind of the pride that they take in the game, like even if I'm not here, not able to do anything, I'm still going to be there mentally. And I feel like they came in pretty locked in and ready to go. As Jimmy would say, he say he ready right now. So he looked like it, and I can't wait for camp. So yeah, it's gonna be a good one.
I mean, you brought up how important it is that you are a Dave Canales guy, because you really are. Like, that you are known as, like most head coaches, when they come in, they bring in one or two guys that really set the standard for the program. In year two, with you established, and obviously knowing your relationship with Brad and Dave and probably Rob now too, do you feel the importance you have to the locker room? Like, I know that the guys don't like to like boast about themselves; they want to talk about their teammates. But do you kind of feel that weight of that job?
Yeah, last year they kind of asked me to, to help out with X and Coke and help them get on board with the playbook and the style of play. And I like doing that kind of stuff because when I came in as a rookie, Dave had Doug Baldwin and Tyler Lockett, and those are the guys that kind of did what I'm doing for them. They did for me. So I seen that firsthand when I first came in, and I seen how it helped me grow. So it's kind of like full circle. Now it's my turn to help people grow, and I feel the importance. You know what I mean? I feel the role that I have to play, and I like the role. I get to sit here, and it is important to be one of the guys that, like, all right, if they're coming to me asking me questions, I got to know what I'm talking about. I got to know what I'm preaching. And yeah, I would say going in the second year with Charlotte, I would say the role's not as the role's not bigger. It's kind of like it's already set. So like when when they came in, I kind of already knew who I was finna have to kind of bring on board, which was T Mac, which he plays X, and some of Z. So all the people that's playing X and Z, Adam has the inside, so I don't really have to worry about the slots and stuff. But everybody playing outside, I try to help out as much as I can. I like that role, man. It just makes you feel good, especially after you see them listening to you, listening to coaches, and then you see what you're preaching to them. They go out and do it. Yeah, it's like a big brother moment, I guess you could say.
Yeah, we saw that impact all year last year. And forgive me, I'm going to go back to last year for another question. The play that sticks out to me most when remembering your 2024 season was the touchdown catch you had against the Cardinals when Bryce had just a pass rusher unguarded, just screaming right at him, and he just lofts it up to you, and you're just streaking down the field, and you somehow come down with it, even though the defender's grabbing your arm and all these things. Firstly, can you take us through that play? And secondly, is that the defining play of 2024 for you too, or is it something else?
I wouldn't say necessarily that play, but that was one of the big ones, because we had been talking about it all year, and we had been wanting to hit go balls all year, and we just been trying to get that time and that connection to where, like, if he sees something, he can make the right call, and he can do his call. So when that play came about, it was actually a run play. It wasn't even a pass play. And he saw that the corner was pressed up, and he saw when he saw that, and I was tight cut split, he just kind of signal, and I knew what the signal was, so I just start breathing, well, here it is. Let's go get it. You got all this space, better use it wisely. And I tried to capture the outside of his shoulder, and as soon as I did that, the way you see him grabbing my arm is kind of me letting him grab my arm. I was just posting him up. And, coach had been talking about that all year. Rob has, hey, man, we got to use our hands, use our hands. So, all right, well, here's a chance to use our hands. It's just me and this guy over here. So while we're sitting there arm fighting, I'm just posting him. And Bryce throws a dime, over in the back corner. So I'm like, all right, just save space. And lay hands. And those were the keys to winning. Keeping them off, showing lay hands, dragging the feet. It was actually a perfect little play. And it was exciting, to hit a goal ball for a touchdown like that, And that was one of the things where it was like, all right, well, we need to hit more of those. We can hit more of those. We can do that. Like, we just gotta be on top of our game. So that was one of the key points. And all right, now we know what we can do. Let's get out there and just keep doing it. So yeah, that was one of the plays. But I would say Kansas City was one of the games that kind of solidified it for me last year. He was just throwing dimes all over the place, getting hit. Rushers coming in, and he's just trusting all of us and just putting it right where we're supposed to be. And then we were all there. So yeah, I would say that was where it started to like turn for me and a couple other guys that game.
David,
Where
just wrapping this all up. We can't talk to a wide receiver without talking about Bryce and his evolution. And I was just curious, how important was it to close the season against Atlanta the way you guys did for him? And how have you seen him kind of take the next step in his leadership, the next step in his approach to the quarterback position?
I saw his approach last year. When he came back from all the stuff that was going on at the beginning. I saw how he came in and you know took a different angle at it. He came in ready to go. Like, it's not saying he wasn't ready at the beginning, but came in with a different type of focus. It was just like, all right, well, now I know what I'm doing. Now we know what we're doing, and he just kind of like kept going progressively, just taking steps after steps after steps, and we were all growing together. And that Atlanta game, coaching them, was saying it was gonna be a battle, which it was. We were ready for it. He was talking, he was he was giving his little speeches. We do something or say we were down or whatever. He's coming up, picking everybody's spirits up, talking, and then we're all just on point. Everybody's touching the ball, everybody's scoring. It was just like everybody was having fun, and to end the season like that with a win, it's just like, all right, well, let's just feed off that energy. And since then, OTAs came around. Bryce looks like he's just, I don't know what level he's on right now, but he's doing his thing, And then just throughout camp the whole time, he's just on point, on point. And he's starting to, I don't know if y'all saw him, he's starting to talk a little bit to the defense.
Oh yeah, we heard him too.
Hell yeah. When that happens, that kind of amps up them, which amps up us. And now the energy is just high. And we're just riding this high energy right now. So it's like seeing all that, feeling all that, it's like, well, yeah, I definitely want to be a part of that. Like, this is something that's gonna be good. It's gonna be fun. Like, it wasn't like that last year, especially at the beginning. It wasn't like that at all. But now that everybody, got a feel for everyone, everybody's, kind of used to this guy, that guy. Well, now let's, this is a family thing, bro. Like, this is gonna be the team, throughout the year. We gotta ride with each other. So all those moments where we're just yelling and hooping, hollering, that's just that little piece that Bryce is bringing to the game, to where it's like, all right, bro, we're gonna have a different type of energy. We're gonna have a different type of look to us this year. Like, we're coming out to win. We're coming out to play, and we'll pass. So you see that in him, and it's like, all right, well, he's actually taking different steps. I guess this is how he was at Bama. I don't know. I wasn't there, but from the sounds of it, this is what it looks like he's turning into, and I'm all on board for it. He knows exactly what he's doing. He knows what we're supposed to be doing, and he's just, I don't know, he's just calm, cool, collective, just going on about his career, just rising. And he had his rough year was his first year. Second year came in a little rough, and then ended great. And now his third year, I'm excited to see it. I don't I don't know what's about to happen, but I'm excited. It's gonna be a good one, I feel.
And the Processing Blue podcast wants to thank David Moore for his time. I mean, that was a really, really introspective conversation with David. We went in planning to do roughly 10 minutes. I think we went around the 17 mark, but man, what a way to start off our interview series for the season. And we're going to have interviews throughout training camp with other writers, with players, potentially coaches. Starting now, we're in year 2 of Processing Blue with me and you, Alex. And we're stepping up our game a little bit. So, Alex, I'm going to give you the floor because I watched you while he was answering questions, and it, I I just kind of felt like the rhythm and the rhyme of that whole thing was awesome. What were your biggest takeaways from that interview?
Oh, I thought it was wonderful too. One thing that I was kind of not concerned about, but interested in talking to him was his comfort level of speaking about his future with the Panthers. And he is so comfortable. He straight up said, I am Dave Canales' guy, yes, but I don't really want to play for anybody besides Dave. He's my guy. And that's not something I was really expecting to hear. He is so superlative about Bryce and so like proud of him. I mean, like, I don't know. It just everything about that interview was really revealing, and he was so comfortable and happy. And I get it. It's a really great time of year to be comfortable and happy in most cases, but this wide receiver room is super crowded. And a lot of people are thinking, oh my gosh, okay, are the Panthers keeping 7? Oh, if they keep 6, who do they cut? Are they keeping Hunter Renfrow? Are they keeping David Moore? Like you said, I don't think you can come away from that interview and think that David's not going to be on this team. So that was really great. Talked about Bryce feeling more comfortable, feeling like himself. He also has a wonderful memory. Like I just threw out a memorable play for him from 2024, and he like remembered every detail of it. He remembered the initial call in the huddle. He remembered how Bryce audibled and how he understood the audible. He remembered how momentous it was because he realized, hey, we can win on go balls now. We couldn't previously do that, and now we just proved that we could. So yeah, he was great. I'm really glad he was open to talking to us. Mike, what about you? What were some things that stuck out to you?
What I like about David is he comes to like to give you like kind of like a background, the audience, obviously you know this. There are guys in the locker room who you go to for what you would call I mean, I guess you would call it perspective, I guess, but like to fill in the blanks. And I think David throughout his time, like I remember I mentioned this in the interview, but like I remember the Denver game, everybody was really somber. Um they didn't play particularly well. It was Bryce's first start back. He was very reflective and accountable and everything like that. And in the corner of the locker room, we do a free newsletter, called Access Panthers. You can sign up for free.
On charlotteobserver.com, right? Yeah.
And I was writing something for the newsletter, and I saw David, and he just kind of, I mean, you could tell he was processing the loss, but he also kind of looked at Jalen Coker and kind of had a smile on his face. And Jalen Coker caught like kind of a garbage time touchdown. And it was his first career touchdown. And I remember David just glowing about him, and just heaping praise on him and his approach to the game and how he's willing to take mentoring and obviously I mentioned it before, mentoring is like a big deal to me. So I immediately connected with that. And then since then, David's kind of been that guy. He's a glue guy. We talked about a couple of weeks ago, glue guys. He is that type of guy. I mean, look, it's not a hubris to think that he is really important to this organization. I think he's a guy that, he's so good on special teams. He doesn't necessarily have to be catching passes to make a difference. And I think like that confidence you talk about, that's where it comes from, right? And I don't think he's just like some teacher's pet, right? He's a guy who has been through the rigors of the NFL and has processed those ups and downs and has found, two play callers who he really connects with and who really believe in him. And I think I've said this for a while, like I think they keep 6 at minimum, but the issue is if you're keeping 7 and guys 4 through 7 are not really good at special teams, that's really difficult to do. And I think David Moore's a guy who's going to be active on game day no matter what, because he can return, he understands core 4 principles. Like he's got a background with Tracy as well. Like I think there's a lot there to like. And as we you know as we talk about the truths and the false of the rosters, I wanted to try a new segment for us, and I think we're gonna do this throughout training camp. A lot of times we talk about certain things with a lot of confidence that they're truths. Well, two things can be true at the same time. And so I wanted to do the segment called Two Things Can Be True. Okay. It's where you and I each week are going to say, this is a truth, but this is also a connective truth to it. And I thought I'd start off with the Taylor Moton debate.
Oh, let's do it.
A lot of people have talked about Taylor Moton's contract and how big the cap hit is, and we get it. We get it here at the Processing Blue podcast. But and how durable and how reliable he's been. And I think for this first part of this segment that we're doing, I think it's fair to say that two things can be true. Taylor Moton is the most reliable offensive lineman this team has had for years. But it's also true that it's the smart approach to keep his contract fluid. He is on the opposite end of, he's on the not so great end of 30. I'm 37. I don't necessarily agree with that. But, and he's a guy who's dealt with some knee issues. We'll credit the Athletic here, but he told the Athletic that that his knee injuries are chronic. And that's something to be concerned about. I know a lot of offensive linemen go through it. Most of the offensive linemen who are in their 30s are probably dealing with some sort of chronic injury. But I think, with the way that Icky's 6-year option or 5th-year option, is lining up and the potential for an extension there, and the way that the center position is wide open. Oh, and by the way, they're going to have a ton of cap space next year. It's smart to stay fluid, especially when you have $100 million right guard. You have I believe it's like a $50 million left guard. And to kind of see where you're at, because like realistically, while Moton's been terrific, he's never been a Pro Bowler. He's about to turn he's about to turn 31, I believe. And then you've got Icky, who's kind of been up and down, and maybe you want to keep Moton's spot fluid because maybe you move him to right tackle, or you draft somebody and you feel like they're better at left tackle, so you move Icky to right tackle, or you sign somebody who you feel like can play right tackle. But for right now, I think, they have Josh Nijman, who took a pay cut. They've got Brady Christensen, who can play right tackle if they want him to. Like, I think they're in a good spot offensively on the offensive line, and I think keeping some of the bigger contracts fluid makes a lot of sense, even though Taylor Moton absolutely deserves the new contract and has absolutely been their most dependable offensive lineman, at least since I've been here, if not longer.
Yeah. Mike, I think this is a really interesting point. I really liked this decision from Dan Morgan when he first announced that they weren't going to do anything with Taylor's contract, even though it was such a massive $31 million cap hit. It was like, I read this stat, it was like 11% of the Panthers salary cap is going to Taylor Moton, which is just nuts. But I thought it was really smart because the NFL cap number this year is $279.2 million, which is a $23.8 million increase from last year, which is this record jump. That's a really smart way to use this aberration in the salary cap. So I really like that. Mike, you talked about the injuries a little bit. So Taylor's this guy who has admitted to having chronic knee injuries. It was the worst kept secret in the Carolina's locker room last year. But he still plays all the time. Like even when he did break his Ironman losing streak, it was only for 2 weeks, and he's still playing all the time. So my question is, like, how much does an injury factor in, or how much does his his chronic knee problems factor in to his future in Carolina if he's proven he can play through it?
Yeah, I think it's interesting. The knee injury has been hinted at since I got here. Like, this is not like a new thing. I just haven't had anybody confirm what exactly it is.
Yep.
And, good on the Athletic for getting Taylor Moton to go on record about it. But I just, I don't know. I think it's really interesting. But here's the thing: like right tackles are making almost left tackle money at this point, and Moton's like an interesting guy because when you have chronic injuries, they're kind of a ticking time bomb. It's there are guys that can overcome it, and I mean Lane Johnson, or no, so excuse me, Jason Kelsey was like basically put together by gum and silly string at the end. Like that's the thing is like offensive linemen. David brought up this point: are you injured or are you hurt? It feels like offensive linemen are always hurt, and so that piles up in all sports, right? And so I think it's just a matter of pain management. We've seen that he gets like that veteran day off almost weekly, if not, bi-weekly. And I think they've managed it pretty well. I'm interested to see how this new training staff like kind of approaches it with him. Like he did like kind of an onboarding during OTAs, it felt like. So, when you're older, your body starts to break down a little bit more, speaking from experience. And, there are things that come up, but I don't fault the Panthers for their approach to Moan. I also think like if they can get an extension done, like a hometown discount with Iquanu, it becomes a little bit easier to maybe give an extension to Moton. And here's the thing though, if you're extending Moton, you're probably only giving him a 2-year deal. And so you're just knocking down some of the cap money a year or two down the road. So you've got to kind of figure this out. You're taking away a lot of your leverage in contract negotiations. So if they let him play it out and it's like a fair, just like even split, then you can agree to a 2-year contract that's at a pretty normal level. Otherwise, why would Moton take that deal when he knows that he has the leverage of the cap hit on them? So Alex, with that said, what's your two things can be true?
Yeah, I really like your two things can be true. I'm going to go a bit more obvious. Here's my two things.
Sure.
Bryce Young played like a star quarterback after the bye week in week 11. That's true, no doubt. It's also true that 2025 is a massive year for him, and it's actually his biggest year to date. So let me lay this.
Yeah, you went really obvious. Yes.
I mean, like it's obvious, but like this is the question I see literally everywhere I look. And so I wanted to have a brief discussion about it. We've talked about the new quarterback he became after week 12 a lot. In his final 6 games, his average depth of target was notably longer. His adjusted completion percentage marks were up. His average passer rating was 92.3 from week 12 to week 18, which is a massive jump from his previous outings and up there with the Jaden Danielses of the world, the Matthew Staffords of the league. He was fast. He was creative. We learned he could take a hit. We learned all these amazing things. But those 6 games showed what he could be. They didn't show what he is. He hasn't yet established himself as a star. That's what 2025 is for. And frankly, these stakes are new to him. His rookie season, David Moore actually talked a little bit about this. His rookie season was an unmitigated disaster. But the positive for him is he wasn't really blamed for it. Nor really should any rookie quarterback be, particularly if you're the number 1 overall pick and you're going to a team that didn't win a lot the year prior. His second season, he got a new head coach. There were a lot of factors in the air. If Bryce ultimately didn't come back and finish the way he did, I think another team would have taken a chance on him. Bryce was too talented and too special in college not to be given another chance by another team. Teams would have gladly taken him, and they would have been able to sell them to their fan bases. They'd be able to list any number of reasons. Say that the Panthers were battling a lot of instability. The team had just cleaned house on offense as well with getting rid of DJ Moore and Christian McCaffrey departing and all these things. So those are the first 2 years. This year is different. This year, there isn't as much room for him to have an uninspired start or really an uninspired season. This is the year we see who Bryce Young is. The first year I was here, everyone was like, oh, Bryce is being surrounded by 5 Bismack Biombos or whatever you said that one day in the like. That's not this offense. This offense, right. He's got a proven interior offensive line in front of him. He's got a play caller with an extra year of experience under his belt, but who also clearly knows how to make Bryce shine. He's got an upgraded wide receiver room. They spent their last 2 draft picks on wide receivers. This, more than previous years, is the chance for him to prove his stardom. And so Bryce was a star at the end of last year. It's also true that 2025 is the year that he needs to establish his stardom. Now, Mike, is that okay, or is that a little too obvious, or where do you think I should go with this?
I think that was pretty obvious, but I don't have anything to really add to it. I think what Bryce did last year was promising, and it showed potential, but it didn't show proof, right? And we're looking for proof here. And so the proof comes in how quickly he starts this season. But with that said, David Moore is going to have a big opportunity to help him improve this season. We want to thank David Moore again. Alex, let's wrap this up.
Thanks, as always, for listening to our pontifications on all things Panthers with Mike K. and myself and our wonderful producer, Zach Dennis. Please subscribe and follow us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts by searching Processing Blue. And if you watch us on YouTube, please subscribe to our YouTube channel and click on the bell icon to get notified whenever new episodes drop. And finally, please be sure to stick to charlotteobserver.com for all your Panthers needs. Mike, stay humble, stay creative, and keep processing.
That's a wrap.